Welcome to Show Up Dad. This podcast is created for hardworking fathers. At the Show Up Dad, we recognize that fathers providing for their children is certainly important. But when men truly understand their unique role and gain the knowledge and skills to be great fathers, they can transform and impact future generations. Today's guest is KRIS Paronto. In case you guys don't know, Chris is our past guest that I had the pleasure of inviting back to our show due to the amazing job he did the first time. Welcome to our show, brother, for part two.
Hey, thanks for having me. And yeah, I know you're in California. I'm in Midwest, so I'm sorry if I'm just kind of in chill mode now, because I'm always in chill mode. I'm just even in more chill mode when it gets to be, and because I'm old, man. I'm an old dad. When it gets to be after 9 o'clock, I'm just relaxing, man. You know that all that piss and vinegar where you had to stay up all night. And I remember those days. Those are gone, man. Come 8 o'clock, I'm having a little drink, and I'm, and watching old, watching either old movies or watching a cartoon movie with my kid. Like he always loves watching, anything from Wreck-It Ralph to what's another one he loves? Oh, he loves Sonic 2. Sonic 2 actually that's a good movie. I'll be honest, that was better than the Marvel movie. That was better than Doctor Strange. I like Sonic 2. That was funny. Or watching Travel Channel or Weather Channel, like us old farts do. So yeah, bro. So sorry if I'm all chilled out. It's just it's that time of night, man.
Oh, no worries, brother. I'm with you right there, man. 9 o'clock comes and I'm telling the wife, hey, I'm praying with the boys. You deal with them. I'm going to bed.
And I'm going to bed. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thanks for having me on again, man. And I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And it's good talking to you again and seeing you again, bro.
Absolutely, brother. Same. Likewise. Well, today I wanted to talk to you and start with a recap of our last podcast that we did. Okay. I want to kind of continue something that you said that stood out to me. You said that being able to overcome adversity and being a role model is how you set your kids up for success. And you said you didn't realize that until after Benghazi. Can you expound on that point? And
I think being a role model in itself I had to have role models too, positive role models, whether it be a dad or whether it be a coach or a teacher. So I think that's any father needs to be that way. Any father needs to be a positive role model. You're the father figure for your child, especially young men. And going off a little bit on a tangent, not get into the weeds of politics, but even looking at what's going on right now with these shootings, a lot of these kids don't have fathers. In fact, I don't think any of and I could be wrong, but I don't think any of them had a father. Now, as far as positive role models, they may have had one, but as far as having a father at home, I think they were all raised majority of their lives by their mother. Nothing wrong with that, but I think it says a lot for that positive role model to be in that life, being a father. Father needs to be there. As I know, that father needs to be there, present in a person's life, in your kids' lives. So the role model part, I may have said, and I don't want it to be taken out of context, that I didn't think that before Benghazi, because I always did, because I had positive role models in my life. I had my abuelo, my grandfather, Joaquin, tremendous role model. I had my dad, tremendous role model for me. And then I also had I was very blessed to be around some very significant coaches, football, basketball, baseball, that had an effect that way. And that was the old school coaching. Hey man, you better do what you're told. You're running ladders. There was some punishment involved back in those days. And when we used to be able to have 2-a-days and even 3-a-days. I remember that at Dixie College with my coach, Greg Koshaw, who's a tremendous role model again. But what I learned in Benghazi and learned from Benghazi after the fact is the adversity. I understood adversity to a point. And I don't think you really understand adversity until you've gone through even more so adversity, until you've gone through a moment of duress, which could be a death in the family, which could be a criminal act against you, a violent crime that happened against you, or that you've had to react to a violent crime to save another person, or war. And then if you even want to get into it, even if not war, even just going through special operations training, whether it be going through BUDS like a SEAL, becoming a SEAL or Ranger or Special Forces or Delta or Ranger Recon Detachment, all those other, because it is structured, but you're still going under a lot of duress and adversity because they're seeing how you can handle it under some of the most arduous conditions. So you're prepared for war. So you don't falter when war happens. And that's what I learned, not just from Benghazi, but being a Ranger, being thrown out of the Army the first time I was thrown out, then coming back and doing it over again. The never quit, never giving up, the attitude of, you may get knocked down, but you got to pick yourself back up. And I did learn that growing up. I did, definitely. But I really didn't put that into fruition to the extremes until I joined the Army. And then even having to join the Army again, and then going through the training, going through Ranger indoctrination, which is now called Ranger Assessment Selection, going to be a private at Ranger Battalion, which is hard in itself, just the everyday grind of being at a 75th Ranger Regiment. And anybody that served at the 75th Ranger Regiment for any length of time will tell you that just getting up in the morning as a private and going there and just like, oh my gosh, here we go again. I'm going to learn a lot, but I'm going to get crushed today because somebody's pissed off. But you have to get through it because you have to know how to deal with the smoke sessions, which is not smoking. It's actually getting physically
smoked.
Yeah, smoked. And then not physically beaten up all the time, even though those things do happen sometimes, but just PT till you're about ready to die. And then going through Ranger School, of course, which is hard in itself, not eating, not sleeping. But what Benghazi taught me, though, is at that extreme is that even I really felt like I was prepped very well. So when Benghazi happened, where the worst case scenario really did happen, nobody was coming. You're 3,000 miles away from anywhere. You're getting attacked. You're outnumbered, and there ain't nobody coming. If all that adversity that I hadn't gone through prior to Benghazi, where the divorce, the getting kicked out of the military, all the hazings and smokings I had to go through, and then just the normal stuff you go through becoming a Ranger, and then and then also the 10 years of deploying prior to Benghazi even happening, of going and working in Baghdad and Kabul and Kandahar and seeing and experiencing just death and destruction, and then but also a lot of life, seeing the little girls in Afghanistan going to school the first day. I was able to be in country when that happened in Kabul, and that was amazing. Oh my God, like the Taliban's gone, little girls are actually going to school now, and seeing that on the street, I tell you what, it did choke me up. It was amazing to see that. But all those things, all that adversity leading up to Benghazi, whether it was planned because of being a Ranger, some of that's planned, or it wasn't, where it just unexpectedly happened, like my divorce or me kind of contracting ulcerative colitis and being hospitalized, and then getting medically discharged out of the military when everything was going great, where God's plan, you just don't question that plan, and just, you kind of have to roll with it, learning that. So when Benghazi happened, it was really, this is God's way, nobody's coming. Well, this is God's plan. All right, what do we do? Do we lay down and cry about it? Do we quit? Do we not? Do we say things and yell at God saying, why'd you keep me? Why am I here? Am I going to die here in this godforsaken country? No, you deal with it. You pick yourself up and you keep fighting and you keep grinding and you never quit and you keep going until either you get out of it or God says it's time for you to come visit me up in heaven. And that's just how it is. And that's where I think applying to life lessons, and you don't have to go through Benghazi to apply those lessons, to apply those and look back and be like, man, you just don't give up. No matter the adversity, you don't give up. And if you're in a situation that is just crap, God has you there for a reason. I don't know why. Don't try to figure it out, because we don't. God's not going to give us the answer. And sometimes we won't know it for years, just like I didn't know for years. But you do keep driving on, because you're not going to get out of that adversity unless you keep pressing on. It's the old adage, hey, the only way you can get out of a tunnel is you keep going until you see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know when it's going to come, but it's definitely not going to come if you just lay down and pout and cry and say and give up. And that's where Benghazi really, really solidified the never quit attitude for me, because I did, and the team, not just me, but the entire team applied that never quit attitude throughout that whole night, even though we really didn't know. I mean, we didn't know when we were going to get out of there. We had no idea. Nobody knew. We had plans, but to be honest, and I know if the other guys were here, they'd tell you the same thing. They'd be like, we really didn't know if it was going to be 13 hours or 13 days or 13 months. We just know we had enough ammo to last for this long. We had plans, and we were continually making plans. That's why I always tell people, continue to move forward, even when it's at its bleakest. Continue to make a plan. Continue to move forward. Keep moving forward. Don't stop. Don't be static. Don't be like that shark that stops swimming and drowns. But then in the end, if that doubt comes in that, hey, you know what? I don't think we're going to make it out of here because we don't know when we're getting out of here. You don't let that creep in your head. You just sense to yourself, you know what? As long as I keep moving forward and keep having faith, because faith always increases your luck. It's amazing how that coincides, that if you have faith and luck kind of go hand in hand. It really is amazing. But if you have faith, we're going to get out of here eventually. We will. We'll figure out a way. And again, it's not giving it all up to the Lord and saying, God, I don't know what to do. There are times to do that. Like the suicide moment I had, I was like on my knees, God, I need you to take over. I'm lost. But in those situations there, it is not God, take over and lead me to this gate. It's just God, whatever you want me to do, just whatever I need to do, just be here with me and do guide me. But it's still that free will. You still got to move forward and keep moving forward to save yourself. And then things just start to pop up, just like the plane that showed up in Benghazi, the Afghanistan transport. A lot of people don't know this, and we didn't really put it in the movie, and we didn't want to get into it too much, but that plane just showed up. It wasn't for us. It just showed up. It was not Afghan. It was a Libyan transport. And I remember that specifically because I thought we were going to do a hot load, which is what a hot load is on a C-130. It's where the plane lands and it slows down and the ramp drops, and it taxis, but it slows way down. So you can either drive up on it or you can run up on it, and then it takes off. So it's like a quick, so it doesn't get attacked while it's on the ground, spending less time on the ground. So it continues to move. Well, this plane went right by us and shut its engines down it was about a half a mile away from where we were at. And to me, that was abnormal because I've done a lot of hot loads with the agency, and then I've done some with the Rangers being in the Army. And if there's a plane, if you're under the possibility of combat, or you've just been in combat and there's SA-7s or surface to air missiles that are possibly around, a plane's not going to just shut its engines down and stop. It's going to get on the car, get you in there, and take right back off. And I remember looked at it, and it went down there, and then it cut its engines off. And I remember looking at my team leader, my GRS team leader, the CIA team leader, our GRS Global Response Staff. That's what we were called. That's our official name with security. I looked at him and I remember looking and I go, is that for us? And he goes, and I went, oh, okay. And we got in a vehicle. We still had one of our interpreters was still there, and we got in a vehicle. We went down there, and we talked to pilots into flying us out. They were actually getting out of their airplane to go get shot. They were taking a tea break. They were coming to get, and we're like, hey, man. And they saw us, and we had our dead bodies. We had the ambassador. We had Tyrone. We had Sean. We had Glenn. And we're like, and they did know what had gone on because, it was all over the place. The attack was going on. Honestly, that's probably why they left. They do. But we talked them flying us out. So what I'm saying is that what Benghazi did, it did solidify to me that you never give up. And all that adversity that you're going through, it is just prepping you for a Benghazi. It's prepping you for that worst case scenario. I didn't realize the divorce, the ulcerative colitis that hospitalized me, that got me discharged from the military, all the crap of being a private again when I came in the second time, and just the training at Ranger School, that just going through hell there, and then just normal everyday life of just not getting what you want, what you think you want. That didn't stop me from continuing to move forward. It just all culminated. So when Benghazi happened, I was like, yeah, I've seen death before. I understand that. Yeah, that little girl, I made a bad call in Iraq, and I probably could have saved her, but I didn't. But I kept driving forward, and we ended up saving 30 people within that element there. the divorce, I didn't stop. I didn't just cry over it. I actually went and got my master's degree and tried to continue to better myself. Oh yeah, wait, Benghazi. I needed to all that adversity. So when that night happened, I didn't give up. I didn't quit. And the team could tell you the same thing, because they were all older guys that had been through a lot of adversity up to that point. I don't think that was a coincidence, brother. I don't think God had that team there at that particular time out of chance. We needed a senior team there that had gone through a lot of adversity in and out of the military, which each one of us had.
Yeah.
To get through that night together, to not have any crybaby. I have no crybaby attitudes. No give up attitudes. It was, no, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to kick your ass every time. And we're going to keep picking ourselves up, even if we get knocked down, until we just can't pick ourselves up anymore. And that's where the role model of never quitting, never giving up with your children come in. You don't need to speak like we're speaking here. I keep kicking ass. Come on, get there.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it where you can still pick them up depending on age. I mean, see, my 7-year-old, sometimes he does need a kick in the ass more than my 6-year-old. I'm going to handle it a little different. But it's always get up, get yourself up. You don't stop. All right. What did you do? All right. You didn't get what you want. All right. I support what you're doing. Just need to work a little harder. The way you do it is essential. And there are times to be hard. There are times to say, hey, suck it up and get your ass up. And there are other times to say, you know what? You did your best. I get it. Let's just work on a little harder. Let's figure out what we need to improve on. And there are times where you just let it walk away for a little bit and handle it at a different time. But the common denominator of all that is you just still never give up. You still try to figure out why you fell, what obstacle maybe have hindered you, or what hole you may have fell in, and how do we get out of that? And then if it happens again, let's learn from that. So if it happens again, you don't need me to help you get out of it. You figured it out for yourself, and you have the confidence because you've already got out of it before. You know how to handle it. And that was where really Benghazi was, after looking back at my life and looking back at Benghazi, that is where it really came to me like, man, you know what? I understand, God, why you put me through all that stuff I'd gone through up to this point. Even though I thought I needed something, you took it away from me. You knew best because you knew I needed to push myself to want to attain that goal again. Well, I understand now. You were just pushing me. So when this happened, I didn't quit on myself. I didn't quit on my teammates. And that's where we can help with our kids. But I think every father should be doing that already. You don't need a Benghazi to be able to think that way. Every father should be, when your son's having a temper tantrum on the ground, I do that. Get your ass up. Get up right now. But that's the tone I use as a father. But when he maybe, like when he loses a soccer game, my little 6-year-old is a perfect example. He's fast. My son is fast. They're very blessed. They have their mother's legs, obviously. My daughter is fast. They're all quick. They're all good little athletes. But my 6-year-old, he's playing, and dude, he's playing against a team. And, here in Little Fort Scott, really on the team he was on, he really was the only little guy on the team that really knew what he was doing. And he's 6 years old. So there's kids that are running around looking at, they're looking at the butterfly. He's competitive, and they're playing a team, and they do really well. And they're playing this other little team. This other little team actually, as 6-year-olds, they're good. They're coached. They got good players. And I remember my son, my little boy, I was not so proud of him. He was playing his heart out. He was just, all over the place. And they did end up losing 6-4. And that's the only game they lost. They lost it. And my son scored those 4 goals. And he was crying, so angry, because he's like, Dad, he didn't help. He didn't help. I'm like, son, I am so proud of you because you worked your tail off and you did so awesome. And every time, and he would fall down, get up, fall down, get up, because he kept playing so hard. And you kept getting up, and I have never been more proud of you. And there's nothing to cry about. You did awesome. And what I said to him, I remember I pointed at him, let him look in my eye. I said, what I'm most proud of is you did never give up. And I could tell he wanted to a few times, because he was so, he was getting so frustrated that the team wasn't helping. And there's nothing wrong with it. 6 years, I'm not that kind of father. 6 years old, you got he watches enough soccer, and he sees my son and my daughter play, that he knows what a team sport is, and he knows so he understands that that, he wasn't getting the help that he needed, but I didn't want him to get mad at his other teammates. And I told him, hey, we didn't even get into that. I just wanted to say, hey, son, I am so happy that you just kept getting up. And he even got hurt. He went down hard, and he got kicked in the stomach, and there was a timeout. I went to go out there, and I as a dad, you okay? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I just want to sit down. I said, well, if you want to sit down, but don't stop. And he popped himself back in there. I didn't force him. I said, son, just don't stop. Don't quit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he went and took a break, got some water, and got back in there. And that's what made me smile. Honestly, and even of all the games that they won where he would score 6 or 7 goals, and honestly, it was a little unfair. He's just so fast. I was most proud of him from that game, the game they lost, because he did what I wish I would have done. I would have known at a 6-year-old, and maybe I did, and I just don't remember. But it was amazing. So to me, the father, again, as a role model, is just, you always tell your kids, you teach them, you train them, you do train them, guys. And they're not dogs. I'm not saying that. All you trolls out there, Tanto's not saying that at all. I'm saying, but they do need to be trained, know how to act right. I was trained with discipline and how to and respect and sirs and ma'ams. I was. I'm not gonna say I wasn't trained. I was, because that's how you act. Chivalry still a big thing in my house as well. Mm-hmm. But that with my son, it was that training and that advice that he'd gotten, just not from me, but even my older son and my daughter. Mm-hmm. It was amazing, because he didn't quit. And that's something that as fathers, again, I'm circling back, that we need to teach our kids that, and that you're going to lose sometimes. It's okay to lose. Honestly, I think you learn more from losing. And I know I did. I lost all the time growing up. I very rarely was I was on some great teams playing football and college, and I had some good grades and I had some terrible grades, but I lost a lot too. Mm-hmm. And then, I lost a lot in life. The divorce, at the time when I did get divorced, that was a loss to me. Getting thrown out of the military, coming back to Grand Junction with my tail between my legs, that was a definite loss. That was humiliating. Yeah. So, but I learned a lot from those losses. And when I overcame them, when I hit some adversity again, it's like, I can do this. And that's Benghazi is another example, hitting that 8-foot-high block wall that night and pulling myself up with all that gear and be like, holy crap, I am not a young guy anymore. And I think I even said the exact thing on the prior show. Mm-hmm. Thinking back to Ranger School, of when I had to run up a mountain with the 70-pound pack, 5 miles, this 9-foot-high block wall didn't seem that tough anymore. But see, that's what I'm saying, overcoming. I went through experience. I pulled from it. I remembered it. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm being the biggest wuss right now. Excuse my language, but I'm being the biggest pussy right now on this 9-foot-high block wall. Mm-hmm. I'd done this before, and I didn't feel pain the rest of the night. I mean, I got tired, but I didn't feel the pain, because it's like, you know what? I've been through hard physical stuff before. I have, and I know what to, and I know I can do it. And that's things I know I could do it. And that's the biggest thing with our kids as dads, is that you just always reinforce that you can do it. You can do it. You may not do it now, but you can continue. You can do it if you just continue to get better and work hard. And Benghazi was huge. And Benghazi in itself, that's not the end state. Benghazi is what helped me get through the suicide attempts I had after. Mm-hmm. When I was divorced from my wife I'm currently back with, when I was on my own, living the vice life, succumbing to every vice that's known to man out there, Mm-hmm. Benghazi is what saved me the last attempt that I had, because I looked in the mirror and I'm like, I've been through all this before Benghazi. I thought about the divorce, and I conquered that. I've been through hell, one night of hell with a great, the team, not just me, but the team. And we got through that. And now I'm going to quit on myself now? No, I don't quit. I don't give up. We don't. And that's why I tell all veterans, all those that are on that, and I talk to those with post-traumatic stress and those that are contemplating, it's like, dude, we have never quit anything in our lives. And now we're going to quit on the most important things in our life. That's ourself and our family. No, not doing it. And so really Benghazi saved my life later, because there'll be an argument that people will say, especially the trolls are the ones that don't really care for me, which is fine. It comes with the territory. They're going to say, well, wait, Benghazi caused you to do that, to think that way. No, it really didn't. I would have been down that road eventually anyway, because of the life path I chose, and because of the years of deploying before Benghazi.
Yeah.
So it may have happened later, but I would have eventually done the same thing to myself, went down those dark holes, let the demons take over. I would.
Yes.
But because Benghazi went through it, I was able to look back at that and be like, no way. I got through that. I can get through this.
Mhm.
I'm not going to quit on myself, and I'm not going to quit on my family. And I'm going to reconcile my family. I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to un-F myself, and I'm going to get through this. So the story doesn't stop with Benghazi. Benghazi was just another test,
Mhm.
another obstacle for me to overcome so I could get stronger. And that's why, again, we should apply all of these things when we're raising our children, so they have that never quit, always get back up attitude. And it can be as simple as picking yourself up when you get knocked down at a football game, to actually going through some life-changing monumental event, even at a young age, they can still, they still have to overcome, whether it's a sickness or whether it's a death in the family. I mean, that's really the best thing I can compare it to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that monumental. It can be something, again. That's why I think athletics are extremely important, or any sort of competition at the grade school to high school level. It can be chess, it can be chess club, it can be it doesn't have to be athletics. It just needs to be competition is extremely important, because you learn how to deal with adversity. You learn how to deal with losing, but then you learn from that losing to get stronger, so you don't ever lose again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's improvement. And that's, it doesn't have to be athletics. It just needs to be anything where there's some competition involved. And I just think as parents, and I think we're getting away from that. I do see that they're positive, that we're getting better, but I think when it was that everybody gets a trophy mentality, did not make us a stronger generation, did not make us a stronger country at all. In fact, it made us much, much weaker. And it made us dads. It made dads in general much weaker, because we weren't pushing our kids anymore. And we need to do that. And I do think because of those things and types went on, I do think there's a direct correlation in what's going on with a lot of these kids. I mean, there's more to it than just that. But with these mass shootings going on, I really do believe that, especially not having a father figure to teach you how to handle adversity and failure, so you don't go to that extreme where you feel ostracized or you feel insecure about yourself. It's just, hey, we all fail. Failing is just a step towards success. That's all it is. And as a father, we need to teach that to our children. But you don't need to be the great Santini either. There's a fine line. You don't need to. There is a fine line to it. But nobody said being a father was supposed to be easy.
No.
So you learn from it. But I know I went in a round way, but that's what I meant. I mean, that's exactly how I still feel to this day. And I've learned, watching from my wife, how to help my sons and my daughters overcome adversity by being a little gentler. There's a time for softness too. It doesn't mean you have to be weak. That's not weak. Is not soft. Is not weak. Soft is just, this needs to be handled with some more kid gloves, not just get your ass.
Yep.
But there are times for that too. So, but that's what being a father is. You learn how to be. And I will be completely honest with you. I think I'm a better father now with my 6-year-old than I was with my 7-year-old. I really do believe that. It's a little bit, makes me a little sad, because I put my oldest son through. He got the mean TANTO, because I was always deployed. I was always coming back and for 2 months at a time, trying to reacclimate. I was high stress, high energy. I still loved him to death. I know I gave and I know he still got hugs, and but I didn't listen as much as I do now with my 6-year-old. And that's just because I've learned to become a better father. And I think we all can do that. There's some guilt that comes with that, of course, because damn, I do look back like, man, I wish I would have acted like that with the 17-year-old. But you can't take that back. It's what happens. And I was saying too, once that bullet goes down range, you can't take it back. If you miss the target, you just readjust, re-aim, and refire. Same thing. Okay, I missed the target. but I have another chance to shoot. Let's fix those mistakes so I can be a better shooter. In this case, a better father. I know it's a crazy analogy talking about mass shooters and no father.
It's a great analogy.
but brother, the blessing is that my son, my oldest son, and my daughters were still young enough that I still got to be the better father with him. My son's almost graduating from high school. I love that boy to death. He gets straight A's. He's a great athlete. He's very responsible. I don't have to worry about him going out on the weekends and getting into trouble. My daughter, on the other hand, maybe I think she's more like me. but he and the blessing that I have is he has a tremendous mother that picked up the slack when I wasn't the greatest father, and so I'm very blessed with that.
I think it's awesome, Chris, that you talked about how that adversity is prepping for worst case scenarios.
Yeah. It is.
And it truly is, and I also like that you said that competition is important.
Definitely.
And I agree with you 100% when you said that it's not so much the competition, it's them learning how to handle defeat.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is we even stutter when we say defeat and loss because our society has made us so, and we've got to start saying that with it. We're not saying they're losers. I'm not a loser and I've lost a lot, but I know how to handle a loss to get better. I also know that the loss doesn't mean that game stops. We got to continue to play. That's life. The game doesn't stop. So I still have that chance to win down the line. I think that is one thing that I've been able with my kids to get through to them, because my father said that to me. My father was a football coach. He said, and I think all football coaches from the Vince Lombardi, Lavelle Edwards, Paul Bear Bryant, those days of coaching were that we didn't lose. We just ran out of time. We're always, and that was the mentality I had playing football. It didn't matter if it was 60-0, the clock ran out. We were eventually going to win if we kept playing. But that's life. That's the thing with life. Really, if you think about it, the clock never runs out. I mean, when you do pass, and if God says this is your time to die, then that's just it. But essentially, the game never ends. So you're never out of the fight to win. You still can win, even in the worst case scenario. And that's, how long did it take me till I really felt like I'm winning? Let me see. 30 years. So I've been playing behind for 30 years. And now, because I didn't give up, I didn't quit. I made a lot of life changes, which were positive.
Yeah.
I prayed every day. I've been praying every day since I was 14. I prayed more, and still having God even stronger in my life now. I actually feel like I'm winning. But see, that's the thing. We're still playing the game. The game's not over yet. I'm still alive. So I think that's with kids is that we need to have that. So you're never defeated. So you lost that chess match. You're not defeated. You got another one next week. Let's prepare for that one. And when chess is over, you have college to go to. And that's a game too. When college is over, you've got another choice to make, is whether it's a job or whatnot. And then if you get in that job or do what you want to do in that job, then guess what? You have a chance to move up the ladder. The game still, you can always continue to improve, or you can just say, you know what? I'm content, but you still have to maintain. So you still got to keep playing. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. The thing is you're always going to be playing. And if you don't know how to lose, when you do lose and you don't know how to, you're going to stop playing and you're going to quit. And that's when we either commit suicide. That's when we either go do mass. That is really where it's at. When you finally quit, you do mass shootings. Yeah. And that's what's sad is a lot of these kids, they're too young to be quitting, or you quit in life and you become a bum on the street. And that's just, I'm not the ones that are on the corner making money. I'm talking literally like the guy I just saw driving home from Colorado. We were in Salina, Kansas, and he is sitting in a pile of trash talking to himself. And, this dude's basically, he's gone. He's gone. There's no help. I couldn't even talk to him and even give him money because he's out of it. But he's sitting in a pile of trash by a dumpster with this long ass coat on. It's 100 degrees out. He's got one of the, it looked like a cliche scene from what you see in a movie of an actual, when you say bum or you say, It really did. But he was completely out lost. Just, I don't even think he even acknowledged I was even there.
Wow.
And this is in Salina, Kansas. This is not even in New York. This is not a city. We're in Salina, Kansas.
Yeah.
But he has given up. He has stopped playing the game. But that's the thing with kids, is that just to say, hey, you may lose this battle, or you may lose this game, or you may lose this altercation, and I don't want to always use negative context as war. I do sometimes, but I don't want it to seem like, because that, to me, that's negative. You may lose at this point, but you haven't lost in life. This is just adversity. Let's learn from it. Let's figure it out. We got to keep driving on, and you're going to get better. And guess what? I'll be honest with you. When I was 16, I can't remember. I remember some of the major games that we lost, maybe 2 or 3, but I can't remember a lot of them anymore. All I can remember is how fun I had playing basketball, or how fun I had playing football, or being out there sucking in the heat with my buddies. Honestly, that's what I remember. I remember the 2-a-days. I remember going to Dixie Junior College, and we were called the Rebels, and we were awesome. For a junior college, we were one of the top junior colleges in the nation. Doing 3-a-days, getting up in the morning and practicing at 6 a.m., then going out in the afternoon and practicing at 11, then practicing at 11 at night till 2 a.m. because it was 110 degrees out. It's right outside Las Vegas. So it's right there. I remember some of the games we won. I remember some of the games we lost. But what I remember most is the misery. Misery does love company. Being miserable with those guys together, but making it fun. That's what I remember a lot with the military too. I don't really remember all of Ranger School, but I do remember the times that we were sucking together in the cold, and my team as bitching together, being like, "Guys," because I was a Winter Ranger. This sucks, or my toes freezing, and me complaining to my Ranger buddy. Or I do remember falling asleep and him waking me up after they were 3 miles down the road because I fell under asleep in a bush. I remember that because I was at complete panic. But like I said, I remember. I don't remember really the losses. I just remember more of the camaraderie. And I think that's what our kids, as they get older, a loss may sting at that time, but you're going to get over it. You're going to learn from it, and you're going to continue on. And when you get to be 30 or 40, you're not even really going to remember that loss. You're going to remember some of the hard times, because that's what, I remember, because that's what forges you. That's what makes you who you are. But that loss, let's learn from it now. But I always tell my kids, you know what? And they'll roll their eyes at me because they're my kids. They're like, Dad, I know. And they'll roll their eyes. But they understand that it's not a life-changing big deal.
Yeah. If
you lose that game, it's if you stop playing, that's the life-changing big deal. If you quit, you say, I lost once. I don't want to do this anymore. No. You finish the season out. We started it. We're going to finish it. That was my dad's big thing. You don't quit anything. If you don't want to play next year, that's one thing. If you don't want to play football next year, because no, we started this season. You're finishing this season out. And luckily, I haven't really had to do that with my kids, because I'll be honest, that was ingrained in them at an early age for me from the military. That really was, because I started in the Army. And even when I got thrown out, I didn't feel like I had finished what I started. So I got back in again to finish my time up. So that is something that, again, with life and learning, we can get through. And that's why, again, in Benghazi, that's why it was, nope, not going to give up. No way. No, we'll keep fighting until God says it's time for you to not fight anymore. And I had come to terms with that. But I had come to terms with that every time I left on a plane. I didn't want to die. I didn't plan on it, but I had come to terms with it every time I left, because it was a possibility. You have to have some sense of realism too, be realistic. But I never gave up, though. I never was going to quit and just die lying down. That's not going to happen.
Now, I thought that was interesting that you said about leaving, right? Every time you left.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of move into this segue here about moving. Okay. So in that movie, right? The actor Krasinski, right?
Yeah.
He's the one that played that Navy frogman. He's talking with the guy who played Roan in there, and they're talking about how he always wanted to be home, but he was struggling finding the same purpose he had at work, finding work at home.
Right. Yeah. Warriors aren't trained to retire. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So did you feel that same way?
That the thing I loved about Benghazi, I mean, I loved about 13 hours is a lot of like that there. And even like, I think I even said it when on the last show, the phone call where you see Jack Silva again. And guys, Jack is real. Let me tell you right now why you will never know who he is. He was SEAL Team 5. He's not just a movie guy. He wasn't just John Krasinski made up character. His wife, and I still talk to Jack, and I knew his wife. His wife has the pants in that family, and she is adamant that she never wants his name out there. Jack has no say at all. His wife said nope, and to this day, that's how she is. So you will probably never know who Jack Silva is because his wife wears the pants to that family. There's nothing wrong with that. We always used to give Jack shit because that was the joke even there. It's like, dude, are you even the boss at home? Because you definitely ain't the boss here. But that being said, okay, getting back to your question, that and then like the phone call home where you see Jack talking to his wife, really what that is, that's a conglomerate of all of us and trying to put it into one scene because we all felt like that. We all felt like, man, because we're all older. It's like, man, when are we going to be home? I mean, every year you'll hear contractors in their 40s at that time. And I'm sure it's still the same here. Every trip is your last trip. Every trip you go out is like, yeah, this is my last one. I got to be home. Because after doing it 8, 9, 10 years, you think you are, but yeah, you get that bug. It is. And I don't think it's adrenaline. I think the civilian population, especially the media, likes to say it's adrenaline. No, it really isn't. I mean, yeah, we like adrenaline, but that's not why. I think we go back, and at least in my case, it is fun being, first of all, it's fun doing the job. The job was fun. I love sneaking around. I love being a Ranger. I love being in the Army. But I tell you what, when you go out in town by yourself and there's no backup at all, that's really freaking cool. I mean, and you're getting, you're basically living off the local economy. You're walking around the sooks, you're getting coffee, but you're on your own, and that is fun. Always. So I think a lot of it has to do with it. We enjoy the job a lot. We don't realize that we do. And the job and the family are competing against each other because we want to be home. We want to have our cake and eat it too. Yeah. We want to be home all the time, but we want to be on the job too because it's fun and we enjoy it. I do and I do also think the old adage of you're doing it for the man to your right and left, you're doing it for your brother or your sister to your right and left of you. That comes true too, because you do miss the guys, even the ones you hate. You miss the camaraderie on the base. Oz and I didn't get along. I think people knew that. I mean, we played nice when we were doing all the news stuff together, but after it was over, I just wanted to be away from him. I don't know if he felt the same with me, but we didn't hang out. I didn't like Oz and Benghazi, but I still respected him because he was a tough son of a bitch. He was a good father for his kids. I saw that. And also, I knew I could depend on him. You don't have to like somebody to work with them. That's something I learned from Benghazi and the military as well. I think that's a misnomer that the civilian population has. It's a belief. It's a misconception that on those special operation teams, everybody gets along. No. That's very rarely true. But I respected him as well. But even Oz was, he was getting up and I think he was the oldest out of all of us. He was like 45 or 46 at the time. I was 42. This was going to be his last trip, but it really is the camaraderie and being a lot of those countries, you couldn't travel to those countries as a tourist. So you're getting to go to places that most people will never, I love that most people will never see and seeing the history of it. And it is haunting. It is beautiful as well, though, to be in an area that's just seen combat, to see buildings that have been blown up, to see holes, 50 cal holes in the side of concrete structures. It is cool. It is neat. It's I call it a savage beauty. It's savagely beautiful, if the term. And it's something that all of us know that we would never get to see if we weren't in the positions that we were. And that's something you do miss when you go home. You're like, yes. Yeah. So, yes, we all felt that way. And then there is a money issue as well. at the beginning of 13 Hours, you hear Roan, who was played by James Badge Dale, who I think did an excellent job playing Roan. I think he did excellent. And then John Krasinski played Jack. And guys, to be quite honest, Jack and John Krasinski actually look pretty similar in real life. They do. But there's a scene in the movie at the very beginning where they're talking, and Roan goes to Jack, well, how's the real estate business going? And Jack goes, well, I'm here, aren't I? That was true. Jack had just lost his ass in the real estate business, so he needed this to make money, and we did make good money. I mean, until you got shot at or blown up, then you didn't make enough. But in the days that you could just play Call of Duty, hanging out all day, or you just were going into town to do your surveillances, we were making good money. So sometimes it is money too, and that's all that in some cases. I would say in the majority of cases, unless the operator has a bachelor's degree or some college education, that's the only job they can do to make that kind of money. There's no other option. And Jack had lost a lot in real estate. So, I think Jack, it was the camaraderie, but for him, I think it was more the money. His family was in dire need of money. But with me and Roan and Oz and Tig, and I hate speaking for him, but I think a lot of it for us was that it was hard to retire. Warriors aren't trained that's why we put warriors aren't trained to retire. That's how we all felt. Did Roan actually say that? I'll tell you, no, he didn't. But we knew that. We wanted that in there because that's what we felt. And you couldn't go to each of us and have that scene that him and Jack had. You couldn't do that because the movie would be 5 hours long. It was already 2.5 hours. So we're like, okay, how do we do this so it says what we're all feeling in this one scene? And that's how we all felt. And that's why it came out so damn cool too, because we did think that. We're like, yeah, warriors aren't trained to retire. And we weren't. And honestly, to be quite honest, we didn't. We kept working aside from Oz. And then of course, Bub and Roan. All of us kept deploying after Benghazi. All of us went to Yemen or Lebanon. So we didn't retire. The only reason we stopped working is because the CIA and John Brennan and the Obama administration pulled our security clearances when we told the truth. So we didn't, basically they fired us. They fired us without saying they fired us. When our security clearances get suspended, and there's several different ones. I had a State Department, I had a DOD, and I had an ISSA, which is the NSA and the CIA security clearances. I had top secret in all of them. When they're suspended, you can't work anymore. So they were smart. They were very tactical and cunning in saying and not firing us, because if they would have fired us, that it would have been huge in the news. CIA contractors fired after telling the truth of Benghazi. By saying you're suspended, we're not fired, but we'll never work again because we'll never get those clearances reinstated again. So we were done.
And what was the truth that they were this is fascinating to me. What was the truth that they kind of per se punished you guys over saying? Like,
just I think really was more that they just wanted Benghazi to go away in itself, because we were doing things that we shouldn't have been doing there. Or the foreign policy, and then we're getting into politics a little bit, but I'll be pretty brief in it.
Yeah.
The foreign policy under Obama was awful. If you've looked at that administration's foreign policy, we were destabilizing nation after nation after nation. It was awful. It was almost like we were the dictators and we were trying to enforce our will on the Middle East and North Africa. And of course, it did start under Bush. It did, but Obama took it to the extreme. And we were moving weapons to help Syrian militias or Syrian rebels overthrow Assad. So really it was Egypt, which we had just destabilized with the coup that went on and that was us. People still forget that was what happened first before Benghazi happened. And then Libya, by getting Gaddafi out of there, they felt they could move militias in there and destabilize that area. And then the Muslim Brotherhood would come in and quell and destabilize the region. And Obama loved the Muslim Brotherhood. He loved those guys. And that's Hamas. Oh, come on, man. That's a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
So, and then losing Libya to use Gaddafi's stockpiles to stockpile the weapons to arm the militias to go overthrow Assad. So we never had to give our own weapons. I think the Iran-Contra affair, they learned quickly that, you don't use American weapons to destabilize nations. You go and you overtake a nation and use their weapons to give to a rebel group to overthrow another nation. It's like Fast and Furious, man.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to go away because by us coming out and saying what happened, it threw light on everything that we were doing. And yeah, brother, I completely believe that we were attacked with the own weapons that we were giving these Syrian militias. And remember at that point too, I think people forget, he said Al Qaeda was on the run and there were no terrorists going, terrorism was on the run. Al Qaeda was on the run and going to be dead, and terrorism was a non-factor. We were giving weapons to terrorists. We were making ISIS in Libya. ISIS had started to form really before that. It started its roots with Zakawi in Baghdad, but really to the fruition, where it really came to be was in Libya. And that was us making those militias that were supposed to overthrow Assad. That was ISIS, man. That was Ansar Sharia, Rafala Sahate. That was all those Al Qaeda in the Maghreb. That was freaking ISIS. And he was just going through the election at the time, and us coming out and the re-election at the time. He was running for president again in 2012. And 2013, it was 2012. And that coming to light, honestly, if whoever he was going against, I think it was Mitt Romney, if they would have really hammered at that, Obama would have lost. I really believe that, because it showed what his real agenda was, which was destabilization and overthrowing nations. And also it showed that, he left Americans behind. Nobody's coming. That's a huge deal. At least at that time. I mean, I don't know if it is anymore. I'm hoping it is, but that never happens. You leave. No, there's nobody left behind. Never leave a fallen comrade to fall in the hands of the enemy. That's part of the fifth stanza of the Ranger Creed. We all live by that credo. Something is in the SEAL handbook and the Marine handbook and the essay that says the same thing. You leave no man behind. And they did. And when it came out, that's like a domino, just fell. It's just, it never really took hold. And the reason it never really took hold is because there were Republicans involved with it too. There were Republicans that were part of that. And the only reason I know that is because I was knee deep in the swamp for 3 years. Yeah. That's where I wanted to put my gun to my head. Cause it was like, it really was. It was disheartening for me. This is where I teach kids adversity as well as a father. Don't always believe what's in front of you. Sometimes it's not the truth. I going there and seeing behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, like being the dog and Toto pulling the curtain, and you see that it's not just some magnificent, all-known being that's in front of you. It's this man working these wheels. Well, that's what I saw when I was in DC. I'm like, my goodness. And what have I been fighting for? What have I been leaving my kids for the last 18 years, 10 years, and then the service? That's why, again, I believe Benghazi in 9/11, 2012, which will be the 10th anniversary coming up soon of the attack, I think saved my life, because as I saw behind the curtain, it really depressed me. And it also questioned, like, wow, what have I done with my life? I've been gone and missed all this life with my kids. I've been a dirtbag to my wife. Now she's left me. And what did I do it for? I thought I was doing this for patriotism and God and country and freedom. And here I come to find out it's money, power, control, and politicians that either don't know shit or just scumbags. And so that's why I looking in the mirror going, okay, wait a second. It's just an obstacle. It's a huge obstacle, and you're finding out what's going on in the world right now. Now you figured it out. You still have something to live for and not give up on. All right. What is it? It's being a father and being a husband, and it's my family. And if you can go through all that, and then you can go through that night, you can get through this. So again, it's hitting the adversity even after Benghazi, but utilizing Benghazi in itself as it's just an obstacle. Got through it. I got through hell. We got here. I'm home. I can get through a couple scumbags not telling the truth. I'll get through it, and I did. So yeah, it's I know we went down that road a little bit too long, but
no,
It really is. It was another thing that as a father, I learned from and realized even on that scale, it's still something that we can learn from to teach our kids to never give up.
Yes.
And that's, pick yourself up.
And I think, Chris, too, man, you're just so perfect and spot on with that, brother, because where we're at today in society, we didn't just get here overnight, and it's crazy that you have to see behind the scenes to see where we're at. And us as fathers teaching that adversity that we just talked about the last hour, we need to teach our kids. We need to teach them to get through the things that are coming up.
Yeah.
Because I firmly believe, and I am not a,
You're not conspiracy.
I'm not a conspiracist. I'm not a doomsdayer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing like that. But I truly, truly, truly believe that we're going to be going into some dark, dark days.
Buddy, I agree. I think it's going to be like and man, I'm dating myself. This is how old I am, even though I was a kid at the time. We're at the very least are going to go through a reset. We're going to go through a Carter-esque recession. We are. We may not. I don't know if now again as far as guns and civil wars and all that, as much as other guys will tell you, you don't want that. We don't want that. I don't want to see that because the infrastructure, you're done. The country's done. No, you can't recover from civil wars. You know how we know this? Well, because I lived in Afghanistan, because I was in Libya, because I was even in Iraq and on the border of Kurdistan and northern Iraq and then being off the coast of Somalia and working in North Africa. Civil wars don't work, guys. Civil wars, and because the infrastructure's gone, and when the infrastructure's gone, your money's gone. There's no banks anymore. Your money's done. It's not worth a dime. Yeah, it doesn't work. But I will say that I agree with you, man. I do agree with you, and I think it's going to be a recession where people are going to lose a lot of money. They're going to lose their livelihood. It's going to happen. And the only way you can get through that is by picking yourself up and starting again. And that's why I think that's why there's a lot of suicides out right now. Is why COVID, being locked down under COVID didn't help kids' mental states, or wearing masks doesn't help their mental states as well. But as fathers, I think what we can do is, because I don't think kids see a lot of future right now. That's why there's a lot of jobs, because like, why do I want to work? First of all, the government's going to give me money. They did everybody else. And also everything's so damn expensive. What does my minimum wage job do? I don't need to work. That I wanted to work as a kid, even though I was only making $5 an hour. To me, it was improvement. I think as fathers, we need to push that. We do. We say, hey, things are going to get harder. We're going to have to tighten, be a good father. I'm going to have to tighten our belt loops. We're not going to be able to spend frivolously like we used to. Just like when my dad, when he lost his job and we had to make cuts. And he even said that, hey, I lost my job. We can't spend the things that we came used to. We got to tighten. I remember him saying that we got to tighten our belt loops. I still remember that. But that's something where now we have an opportunity as fathers to teach our kids, tighten our belt loops. All right. We still need to work. We still need to get out there and make a living and support. It's going to be harder, but we still need to do this because we need to support, and you need to learn how to support your family in hard times, because it's the ebb and flow. It's how the world works. This probably won't be the last time that they would have to handle some sort of hard financial times, because politicians aren't that smart, guys. I'm sorry.
No, they're not.
They're just not. But the only way that as the common people, the only way we get through that is we just drive through it. All right. Gas is expensive as hell right now. Well, if you don't work, it's sure as hell going to be a lot more expensive. We still got to work. We still got to pay. But you know what? You're not going to be able to go get that 12-pack of beer. And I'm saying that because I'm a redneck. I'm sorry. There's better examples out there. We're not going to be able to eat. We're not going to be able to go eat sushi tonight. We're not going to be able to go buy that beer tonight. You're going to have to eat. You're going to have to maybe go get hamburger and just fix yourself at home. You're going to have to eat macaroni. It's just what I'm saying is I'm giving examples as fathers. We can still be positive and say, things are tight, but we can get through it, and we got each other. And this is also a time where I think families, again, just like can come, instead of going out and spending money on the movies or something, like me and my kid going and jumping, it's 100 degrees out, going and putting the sprinkler on the trampoline. We're out there jumping on the trampoline. It costs a little money to run the water for a little bit, but I don't know. You're in California. You guys may not be able to do that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that now you can do more things at home. Guess what? Those board games, I remember those used to be fun as hell. Playing a board game. Remember those days?
Shoots and ladders. I remember that.
Ladders. Yeah, we still even getting out and playing Life and Sorry. And but what I'm saying is that we can teach our kids how to be positive in this moment, even though as fathers, it worries us. Yeah, it does, because how am I gonna make a living? What do I need to pay for this week? Retirement. I've lost my retirement's gone. I mean, granted, I've put money away in different things because I learned the hard way from just putting it in one thing, that if you lose all that, it's gone. But one of my IRAs are losing a ton right now. But that being said, I know they're going to come back because that's happened before, and they'll just come right back up. I teach my kids. I said, put money in an account and just forget it's even there. You don't even know it's there. And that's what I did. But again, it's something to learn from. And the reason I learned from that is because I've lost a lot of money in IRAs and the stocks before. And I learned from that. I learned how to minimize that possibility of a recession or something happening where I lose that money again. We're teaching life lessons.
Yes.
We're staying positive, but we're also, but I know you being a father and you being in California, it's expensive. Oh my gosh, I can't believe your gas is that much. But we can still be positive, and we can still utilize this as the ability to teach our kids and to continue to not quit.
Right.
Don't give up. Don't lose hope. It's going to get better. And by us continuing to work and do our part, we're going to make this place better, because guess what? And you can say politicians are going to change. I would probably put dollars to donuts that the next election, there's going to be a different president. There will be. And because of the mistakes that have gone on with this one, I do really believe that the next group that comes in, they're going to focus on getting the economy changed and getting people back on their feet. And the reason I say that, they're like, well, what are you saying? And I'm not a Trumper, guys. I'm not actually independent. I'm not affiliated. I'm not. I didn't like Hillary Clinton. It wasn't because she was a Democrat. It's because, well, she left us to die.
Because she's a killer.
There was nothing, same with Obama. It had nothing to do with their political affiliation. I even said that on CNN. I said, I'd hate Donald Trump too if he did what Hillary Clinton did. I wouldn't like. Hate's a strong word. That was back then. I'm not a hateful guy. God's going to judge. I let him judge. But what I'm saying is that we went through hard to my father when the Carter era was going on. And I remember, even as a small child, my family being worried because we were lower middle class. It really hit us hard. But when Reagan came in office, and like him or not, when he came in office, the economy went shot right up. And like him or not with Bill Clinton, granted, he's an adulterer, and I know he is, God. I don't know. I'm adulterer, had sex, in the White House, terrible, very unethical. But when he came in after Bush and we had that recession, that he came in,
economy was good.
Focus and went up, and that's why he got reelected. He sure didn't get reelected for being an ethical president. He got reelected because the economy. So that's why, as fathers, we can worry. We're going to worry. We're the breadwinners. That's still whether you like that or not, politically correct people. Fathers are the breadwinners. Now, mothers maybe that's just a term. Fathers are going to worry about mothers. Worried about their families. But that being said, as a father that's been through two recessions, one as a young child and one as I think when Clinton was president, I think, what was I, in my 20s, 30s, being newly remarried. I can tell you that it comes back, and it does. Yeah. And that's we can be positive. And if it doesn't, and I'm wrong, well, I'm wrong, but it's happened twice in my lifetime. I have that premonition that we're going to be okay, and it's going to come back. And that's why I'm not going to worry, but I am going to tell my kids, we can't spend what we used to. We can't do what we used to do. We can't go to the movies every weekend if you want to go. If we do go to the movies, we can't buy that. We got to tighten our belt strings. We got to do more with less. This is, again, as father, this is the perfect time to teach. This is the best time when adversity happens. That is the best time to teach how to handle adversity. But a lot of people don't see it that way. And I think I've just done, because that's how I've grown up. And then, like I said, Benghazi is another one. It's like, dude, you can teach and learn from adversity and learn how to handle through obstacles. And you can even better when everything's going well. Because when everything's going well, you got nothing to change. There's nothing to work on. But when adversity happens, let's see what we're made of. We can get through this. And can we teach our kids the same way? So when they go through it in their lifetime, which they will, because it's just how it goes, guys. If I'm wrong, I will happily be wrong if we never have to go through this sort of recession and this sort of turmoil in our country again. I will be completely happy. But once we get through this, there'll be 20, 30, 40 years. We're going to go through it again. It's just, brother, it's the ebb and flow. It's how the world works. And it's life, just life. That's life. Life's a roller coaster. We just got to learn how to ride that thing, man.
Peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys,
So, but I agree with you. I think we're in hard times right now, and how as fathers we react to it, especially if our kids are really young, is how they are going to react to it when they're older. And if we can stay positive and continue to work and show them and set a good example, they're going to see those same things. And I see they're going to do the same thing. And I see that with my son and my daughter. With the way I act, that they're the same way. They actually are seeing it, even though they're not. They're saying they're not paying attention, or they're rolling their eyes. By their actions, I can see that they're learning. They're learning the good things. They're also learning some of the bad things I do. I still got a potty mouth, so I got to watch.
You and me both, brother.
But brother, I'm with you, man. It's tough, and it's only going to get worse. It will. But we've been through this before, and as Americans, we know how to handle this. And as fathers, we can't give up. If we have that give up attitude, it's just our kids are gonna see it, and they're gonna emulate it. And when they go through their hard times, they're gonna do the same thing, and they're gonna have a bad attitude, and the bad times are gonna be a lot longer than they need to do. That's just my opinion.
And I can't agree with you more, Chris. There is such a thing as mirror neurons. And like you said, our kids, when they're watching you, they're developing that same type of mentality. Everything that we do, they're going to do because they're watching us. And I could prove that to people when kids start walking. Okay. They don't see us crawling. They see us walking. So what do? It's not like we grab their little legs and we stand them up and we try to, you know what I mean? They start wanting to walk on their own. It's because they're watching us walk. Those are mirror neurons, Exactly. So if we're showing them in this tough, troubled time how to respond to a situation, what do you think they're going to do when those tough, troubled times hit them?
Yeah. Right? Yep. You're right. Right on, man. Right on.
But right on, Chris. Thank you so much for coming on here, brother.
Of course.
You opening up. I don't want to take so much of your time.
No, is it already time? Holy crap, it is. But Dave, I appreciate it, man. And again, sorry for missing you on that other one. It was during a family business vacation. It was work, but it was also family vacation. So, as good as you just reach out if you ever want me on again. I always enjoy this. And this, brother, you have good content. And this is what podcasts need to be out there, these kind of podcasts. So if you ever want me on again, you just don't hesitate to ask, and hit up Jeremy or hit up myself, and I'll be honored, man.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Chris. We appreciate you. And I know my audience is going to really love it, man. I love your posts. So we're a big fan, and we support you 100% with our foundation. So thanks, you, brother. Appreciate it.
God bless you. Dave, have a good night, buddy.
You too. God bless. Bye-bye.